The chamber was massive, carved from a single piece of crystal that caught the light of 3 suns. Jiwon stood at the human platform, her hands clasped behind her back to hide their shaking. She had been an ambassador for 30 years. She had negotiated trade deals, settled disputes, and always believed that patience would win respect. Today she realized how wrong she had been. The council leader, Kelmora, raised one of his forearms. The chamber fell silent. His voice echoed through the space like thunder. "We have made our decision. Resolution 7749 is now law." Jiwon felt her stomach drop. Beside her, Donghyun went rigid. The former admiral had given up his command to serve as military liaison. He had watched his beautiful ships get dragged to scrapyards, cut apart piece by piece. The council had said it was necessary. They had said humanity needed to show good faith. All human colonies beyond Sector 7 must be abandoned within 1 standard year, Kelmora continued. All remaining military vessels will be surrendered. Humanity will focus on developing their core worlds and contributing to council prosperity. The words were careful. They sounded reasonable, but Jiwon knew what they really meant. Humanity was being put in a cage. "This is insane," Donghyun whispered. His voice was hoarse. "New Busan has 3 million people. Where are they supposed to go?" Jiwon wanted to argue. She wanted to stand up and make them understand, but she had tried that before. The council never listened. They smiled with their various mouths and faces, made sympathetic sounds, then voted exactly as they had already decided. From the observation deck above, Yeri watched through the glass. She was supposed to be studying xenobiology, learning how different species evolved. Instead, she had spent the last 6 months breaking council encryption codes. What she had found made her sick. The council knew about the resources in Sector 9. They had known for 5 years. Rich mineral deposits that could power civilizations for centuries. Ancient technology buried on dead worlds. And humanity had been exploring there, mapping it all, preparing to expand. The council wanted it for themselves. So they had manufactured reasons. Humanity was too aggressive, too unpredictable, too young to handle such responsibility. They had spent years building the legal framework to justify stealing what humans had found. Hieri pulled out her communicator and sent an encrypted message. Just 3 words. They did it. Across human space, thousands of people received similar messages. On New Busan, Governor Minho read his message twice, then walked to his window. The colony stretched below him, lights twinkling in the dusk. His colony, his people. He had led them here, helped them build homes on a world that had never known human footsteps. The council thought they could just take it away. Minho opened a secure channel. "Begin evacuation procedures quietly. We have 1 year, but I don't trust them to wait that long." In the shadows of council space, in the dark places between stars, Soman smiled. She had been called a criminal, a terrorist, a threat to galactic peace. The council had hunted her for years. They had never understood that you cannot hunt someone who has nothing left to lose. Her resistance network had been preparing for this day. They had weapons the council did not know about. Ships hidden in asteroid fields and dead systems. Technology stolen or traded from species who hated the council as much as humanity had learned to. Soman sent out her own message. "Scatter protocol is active. Begin operations." Back in the council chamber, Jiwon finally stood up. The movement caught attention. Thousands of eyes from dozens of species turned toward her. She had been so careful for so long. Always diplomatic, always proper, always hoping that being good would matter. "Ambassador Jiwon," Kelmora said with false warmth. "Do you have something to add?" "Yes," Jiwon said. Her voice carried clearly through the chamber. "I have something to say." She walked forward, each step deliberate. Donghyun followed. Together they stood at the center of the chamber, surrounded by the species who had smiled while slowly strangling humanity's future. 200 years ago, humanity joined this council. Jiwon began. "We were young. We were eager. We believed in your ideals of cooperation and peace. We followed every rule. We accepted every restriction. We trusted that patience and good faith would earn us respect." She looked around the chamber, meeting eyes where she could. "We were wrong. You never intended to treat us as equals. You saw us as servants, as children to be controlled. And when we found something valuable, you decided to take it." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Kelmora raised his arms for silence, but Jiwon kept speaking. My colleague Yeri has decoded your private communications. We know about the resources in Sector 9. We know you have been planning this theft for years. You created legal justifications to steal what we discovered. The murmurs became shouts. Some species demanded she be removed. Others called for her arrest. But Jiwan's voice cut through them all. We came to you in peace. We followed your laws. We believed in unity. You have taught us that we were fools. She pulled out a data chip and threw it on the chamber floor. It projected images into the air. Encrypted council messages, planning documents, resource surveys, all the proof of their conspiracy. Humanity withdraws from the Galactic Council effective immediately, Jiwan declared. We will not abandon our colonies. We will not surrender our ships. We will not obey your laws anymore. Kelmora stood, his massive form towering over her. You cannot do this. You will be outlaws. We will hunt you across the galaxy. Jiwan smiled. It was not a happy expression. You can try. But we have learned something you never expected. We learned from you. We learned that in this galaxy, only the strong make the rules. You thought you had broken us. You thought you had made us weak. She turned and walked toward the exit. Donghyun followed, and so did every other human in the chamber. As they left, Jiwan spoke one last time, her words recorded and broadcast across 1,000 worlds. You pushed us to the edge. You tried to cage us. Now we will show you what happens when humanity has nothing left to lose. We are leaving your civilized space. We are going into the dark places you fear. And when we return, if we return, it will be on our terms. The doors closed behind them. In her lab, Hieri sent another message. It's done. On New Busan, Minho began loading ships. In the shadows, someone armed her weapons, and across human space, thousands of colony ships began powering up experimental FTL drives. Drives the Council did not know existed. Drives that would take them far beyond Council reach. Humanity was scattering, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months had passed since humanity left the Council. Minho stood on the bridge of the transport ship, watching New Busan shrink behind them. 3 million people were leaving. Some were crying. Others looked angry, but most just looked determined. Governor, we have confirmation, his aide said. All 73 transport ships are away. The last fighters are providing cover. Minho nodded. He did not look away from the viewport. This had been his home for 20 years. He had helped terraform the atmosphere, had watched the first crops grow, had celebrated when the first child was born under New Busan's sky. Now it was being abandoned. Not because humans wanted to leave, but because the Council would not let them stay. How long until the Council arrives? Minho asked. 3 hours, maybe 4. Not enough time to take everything. They had prioritized people, then equipment, then whatever else they could carry. Libraries full of books would burn. Art galleries would be looted. Homes would become ruins, but the people would survive. That was what mattered. Set course for Rally Point Omega, Minho ordered, and engage the new drives. The ship hummed. Then reality seemed to twist. The old FTL drives took days to cross systems. These new ones, built in secret from stolen ancient technology, were different. Space folded around them. They were gone in seconds. Across human space, the same scene repeated thousands of times. Colony ships launching, stations being evacuated, military vessels that were supposed to be scrapped suddenly powering up from hidden locations. The Council had thought humanity was broken. They had thought humans would either submit or die. They had not expected this. Dong-Yun commanded the hidden fleet from the bridge of the carrier Indomitable. She had been scheduled for scrapping 3 years ago. Instead, she had been stripped down, hidden in an asteroid field, and slowly rebuilt with better weapons and shields. Admiral, we have 97 capital ships ready, his tactical officer reported. Another 200 smaller vessels, all equipped with the new drives. Dong-Yun studied the tactical display. Council ships were moving to intercept human vessels. They expected easy prey, slow transports, outdated weapons. They were wrong. All ships engage at will. Priority is protecting the transports. Show them we are not helpless. The hidden fleet dropped out of FTL directly into Council patrol routes. The Council ships barely had time to react. Human missiles, upgraded with technology that should not exist yet, tore through shields. Point defense lasers firing faster than Council targeting computers could track, destroyed incoming fire. It was not a battle. It was a demonstration. Within an hour, 12 Council vessels were destroyed. 20 more were crippled. The rest retreated. Dongyun allowed himself a small smile. All ships proceed to assigned sectors. Remember, we are not fighting a war. We are buying time. In the council capital, Kelmora watched reports flood in. Humans were not retreating in panic. They were scattering in every direction with purpose and coordination. Where are they going? He demanded. His tactical advisor, a spider-like creature named Rixtal, manipulated holographic displays. Everywhere, council leader. We are detecting jump signatures in 87 different vectors. Track them. Send pursuit ships. We are trying. But their new FTL technology is faster than ours, and they are deliberately going into dangerous sectors. Kelmora leaned forward. What do you mean, dangerous? The Abyss sector, the Burning Nebula, the Hellmarch asteroid fields, regions where we have lost ships before, regions we have marked as too hazardous for colonization. They are running to their deaths then. Perhaps, or perhaps they know something we do not. Taijin was 23 years old. He had been a civilian pilot, flying transport routes between safe, established colonies. Now he was flying into the Abyss sector where no ship had ever returned. His hands were steady on the controls. His heart was racing. Are you sure about this? His co-pilot asked. Her name was Yuna, and she was even younger than him. No, Taijin admitted, but I am sure about what happens if we stay. The council will hunt us, will cage us, will make us live on our knees. So we fly into a place that kills everyone instead? We fly into a place the council fears. Maybe there is a reason they fear it. Maybe there is something there they do not want us to find. The Abyss sector appeared on their sensors. It was a region of space where normal physics seemed to break down. Gravity fluctuated wildly. Energy readings made no sense. Ships that entered were simply never heard from again. Taijin took a deep breath and engaged the engines. Space twisted around them. His instruments went crazy. Yuna gasped as the viewport showed impossible colors. Then everything stabilized. They were through, and ahead of them something was waiting. Something old. Something vast. Something that registered on their sensors as both machine and alive. What is that? Yuna whispered. Taijin had no answer. But as they watched, the thing sent a signal. Not words, but meaning somehow transmitted directly into their minds. Welcome, young ones. We have been waiting. In the Burning Nebula, another colony ship emerged from FTL. This one carried 50,000 people, led by Captain Yuna, a different woman from Taijin's co-pilot. She had volunteered for the most dangerous route because she was not afraid of death. She had already lost everything when the Council destroyed her homeworld's economy with their trade restrictions. The nebula was beautiful. Great clouds of gas glowing in every color, but it was also deadly. Radiation levels were extreme. Spatial anomalies appeared and disappeared randomly. Captain, we are detecting an M-class planet, her science officer reported. It is inside the nebula, heavily shielded by the gas clouds. Radiation levels? High, but survivable with proper shielding. And Captain, I am reading something else. The planet is generating its own electromagnetic field. It is feeding off the nebula's energy. Yuna made her decision quickly. That is our new home. Begin landing procedures. Across the galaxy, humans were finding places like this, places too dangerous for the Council. Places where humanity's willingness to take risks became an advantage. On a station being built inside a stellar nursery, Soman coordinated resistance operations. Her networks had stolen enough Council technology to arm 100 colonies. Now she was ensuring it reached the right people. The Council is stretched thin, she told her lieutenants via encrypted channel. They are trying to track thousands of human ships. They do not have enough forces to chase us all. What about the colonies that stay behind? Someone asked. The ones on the core worlds? They have made their choice, Soman said. Some humans will remain under Council rule. That is their right. But for those of us who choose freedom, we must make sure we survive long enough to matter. She pulled up a star chart. Red dots showed known Council positions. Blue dots showed where human colonies were being established. The blue dots were spreading like a virus, filling the empty spaces, the dangerous spaces, the places the Council had abandoned. We are not running away, Sumin continued. We are taking territory they were too afraid to claim. And when we have established ourselves, when we have grown strong, then we will decide our next move. Back on the Indomitable, Dongyun received a message from Jiwon. She had gone to Earth, the human homeworld, to coordinate the evacuation of non-essential personnel. The Council is demanding we return. Jiwon reported. They are threatening military action. Let them threaten, Dongyun replied. Their military is scattered across 100 systems trying to track us. By the time they organize a real response, we will be entrenched. Dongyun, can we really survive out there? In those places? The old admiral looked at his tactical display, at all the blue dots spreading across the map. At humanity choosing uncertainty over submission. Jiwon, I have learned something in my years of service. Humans are not the strongest species. We are not the smartest. We are not the longest lived, but we are the most stubborn. And when you push us to the edge, we do not fall. We learn to fly. Jiwon smiled on the other end of the transmission. I will include that in my next speech. As the call ended, Dongyun turned to his crew. All ships proceed to Phase 2 positions. It is time to make sure the Council understands the cost of hunting us. The scattering had begun, and humanity was not scattering in fear. They were scattering like seeds in a storm, each one looking for soil to take root, and the galaxy, vast and dangerous and full of wonders, was about to learn what happens when you try to cage a species that refuses to be tamed. 50 years had passed. Taijin was an old man now, his hair white, his hands marked with the scars of a lifetime spent in places no human was meant to survive. He stood in the command center of Rim Station Alpha, looking at something that should not exist. The ancient machine floated in space beyond the viewport. It was the size of a moon, covered in patterns that hurt to look at directly. The thing he and Yuna had found on that first desperate flight into the abyss. The thing that had been waiting. Grandfather, the delegation has arrived, said a voice behind him. Taijin turned to see his grandson, Suho. The young man was brilliant, better with languages and mathematics than anyone Taijin had ever met. He had spent 20 years learning to communicate with the ancients. Are they ready? Taijin asked. As ready as they will ever be. The council species are frightened. They never knew the ancients still existed. Taijin smiled. They thought the ancients were myths, stories to scare children. They never came out here to check because they were too afraid. The delegation arrived on the observation deck. There were 5 of them, humans from different scattered colonies. They looked different from each other now. 50 years in extreme environments had changed them. Kyungmin was from the trade colonies. She was thin and tall, adapted to low gravity. Her ship could navigate routes through space that would tear apart normal vessels. She had spent decades connecting the scattered colonies, making sure humanity remembered it was one species, even if spread across 1,000 worlds. Bora came from Pyonghwa Station, built inside the heart of a radiation storm. Her skin had a faint metallic shimmer, the result of genetic modifications that let her survive exposure that would kill normal humans in minutes. She had pioneered the techniques that let humans adapt to the most hostile environments. Jiho represented the military colonies. He was scarred and hard, a soldier who had fought off 3 council attempts to reclaim human space. His people had taken the Hidden Fleet's technology and improved it, building weapons that made council admirals nervous. The 5th person was Suho himself, young and eager, carrying data tablets full of information the ancients had shared. Thank you all for coming, Taijin said. What we discussed today will shape humanity's future. He gestured to the ancient machine. 50 years ago, we fled into places the council feared. We thought we were running to die. Instead, we found the ancients, beings who built civilizations when the council species were still learning to make fire. And they want to help us? Kyungmin asked. She was practical, always suspicious of gifts. They want to see what we become, Taijin corrected. The ancients have been watching the galaxy for millions of years. They have seen species rise and fall. They are curious about humanity because we did something unusual. What did we do? Bora asked. Suho answered. We survived. Most species the council suppresses either submit or die. We scattered instead. We went into places that kill the unprepared, and we adapted. He activated his data tablet. Images appeared in the air. Human colonies scattered across the galaxy, each one different, each one modified by its environment. The Rim colonies have learned to harvest energy from spatial anomalies, Suho continued. The nebula colonies can survive in atmospheres that would poison council species. The radiation belt settlements have altered their biology so thoroughly that they can repair DNA damage in real time. We are diverging, Jiho said quietly. In another century, we might not recognize each other as the same species. That is both our strength and our danger, Taijin agreed. But today we must decide what to do with what the ancients have offered us. He nodded to Suho, who brought up new images. Technology that looked both organic and mechanical. Weapons that bent space, ships that could cross the galaxy in hours. This is what the ancients have given us, Suho said. Technology that surpasses the councils by orders of magnitude. If we accept it, we could return to council space as conquerors. We could take everything they denied us. Silence filled the room. Each person understood what was being offered. The power to make the council pay for 50 years of exile. The ability to reclaim what had been stolen. What do the ancients want in return? Kyungmin asked. Nothing, Suho said. They are beyond such concerns. They simply want to see what we choose. It is a test then, Bora said. They want to know if we will become like the council. Oppressors with better weapons. Tejan nodded slowly. That is my belief. And we must choose carefully. Jiho spoke up. I have fought council forces for 20 years. I have seen good people die because the council decided we did not deserve to live freely. Part of me wants to make them suffer as we have suffered. But, Tejan prompted, but I remember why we left. We left because we refused to live under their rules. If we return as conquerors, we become them. We become the thing we hated. Kyungmin crossed her arms. So we just forget what they did? Let them continue ruling while we hide in the corners of the galaxy. No, Bora said firmly. We remind them that we exist. We show them what we have become. We make them understand that humanity survived their attempt to cage us, but we do not need to conquer them to do that. We need to reconnect, Suho added, not just among ourselves but with the galaxy. Make contact on our terms. Show them we are not the desperate refugees they thought they destroyed. Tejan listened to them debate. This was why he had called them together. Not to tell them what to do, but to hear what humanity had become. Young voices. Strong voices. Voices that had never known submission. Finally, he spoke. I am an old man. I made my choice 50 years ago when I flew into the abyss. Now it is your generation's turn to choose. What do you want for humanity? The discussion lasted for hours. They argued. They disagreed. But slowly a consensus emerged. They would accept some of the ancient technology. Enough to defend themselves. Enough to thrive. But they would not take the weapons of conquest. They would not return to council space as invaders. Instead, they would do something more difficult. They would reconnect the scattered colonies. They would build a network that spanned the dangerous regions they had claimed. They would create a new civilization, one that existed outside council control but willing to interact with it. And they would send a message. A simple one. We survived. We adapted. We are here. And you cannot ignore us anymore. Kyungmin volunteered to carry that message. Her ship could navigate routes no council vessel could follow. She would visit the scattered colonies, gathering representatives. Then she would lead them to the border of council space. How long will this take? Tejan asked. 5 years to gather everyone, maybe more. Kyungmin smiled. But we have time now. We are not desperate anymore. Bora had concerns. What if the council attacks when we reveal ourselves? Jiho answered that. Let them try. We have home field advantage now. We know how to fight in radiation storms and spatial anomalies. They do not. And with the ancient technology for defense, they cannot simply overwhelm us with numbers. As the meeting ended, Suho approached his grandfather. Do you think we made the right choice? Tejan looked out at the ancient machine, silent and patient in the void. I think we made a human choice. We could have chosen revenge. We could have chosen conquest. Instead, we chose to show them we survived. That is enough. The ancients will be disappointed, Suho said. They offered us so much more. The ancients have seen species rise and fall for millions of years, Tejan replied. They are not disappointed. They are interested. Because most species, when given power, use it to dominate. We are choosing a different path. He put his hand on his grandson's shoulder. You will live to see humanity's return to council space. I likely will not. But I will die knowing we did not become monsters. We remained human. Across the scattered colonies, word spread. Humanity was reconnecting. The isolation was ending. Soon they would remind the galaxy that they still existed. And in council space, intelligence reports began arriving. Strange ships appearing on long-range sensors. Human signatures in places that should be empty. Energy readings that matched no known technology. Kelmora, now ancient and frail, read these reports with growing concern. He had thought the human problem was solved, that they had scattered and died in the dark places. He had been wrong. Humanity had not died. It had evolved. And now it was coming back, not as refugees begging for acceptance, not as conquerors seeking revenge, but as something new, something the Council had never dealt with before. A species that had survived the unsurvivable, that had adapted to the unadaptable, that had thrived in places where civilized species feared to go. Kelmora sent out orders to prepare the Council fleet. But deep down he wondered if any preparation would be enough. Humanity was returning, and the galaxy would have to make room for them, whether it wanted to or not. 80 years after the scattering, the galaxy was changing. Yunji commanded the fleet carrier Unity, a ship that combined ancient technology with human engineering. She was Jiwon's granddaughter, carrying her grandmother's diplomatic legacy but hardened by a lifetime in exile. The fleet assembled at Rally Point Theta, just outside Council space. 60 capital ships, 300 support vessels, delegations from 47 different human colonies. They had come together for the first time in 8 decades, and the sight was magnificent. "Ma'am, we are receiving hails from the other colonies," her communications officer reported. "They want to know the plan." Yunji studied the tactical display. Each ship represented a different human adaptation. The Rim Fleet with their ancient enhanced shields, the Nebula Squadron with their ability to hide in energy storms, the Radiation Corps with their modified crews who could repair ships in environments that would kill normal humans. "Tell them we proceed as discussed. We enter Council space. We establish contact. We negotiate as equals. And if they refuse, then they will see what happens when you corner humanity and we stop running." Inside Council space, Kelmora received the first reports. His aide, a younger member of his species named Telrix, brought him the intelligence data. "They are here," Telrix said simply. "A human fleet. Larger than anything we expected." Kelmora was old now, kept alive by technology that replaced most of his body. He had ruled the Council for 90 years. He had seen threats come and go. But this felt different. How many ships? At least 300. But that is just the ones we can see. Our sensors keep losing track of others. Their stealth technology is superior to ours. Impossible. We have the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Telrix hesitated. It appears we do not anymore. The Council assembled in emergency session. Representatives from 60 species filled the chamber. The mood was tense. Some demanded immediate military action. Others urged caution. "We should destroy them now," insisted Representative Kixvol, a reptilian species known for aggression, "before they grow stronger." "They are already strong," countered Representative Rin Na, a peaceful species that had always sympathized with humanity. "And they have not attacked. They are simply waiting." Kelmora raised his arms for silence. "We will send a diplomatic delegation. But we will also mobilize the fleet. If the humans want war, we will be ready." What he did not know was that the Council was already fragmenting. Species that had watched humanity's treatment had learned a lesson. If the Council could do it to humans, they could do it to anyone. On the frontier world Daros, a rebellion was brewing. The local species, called the Trell, had been denied expansion rights just like humanity. They had watched the humans scatter and survive. Now they wanted the same freedom. Their leader, a Trell named Gixtor, sent a secret message to the human fleet. "Help us and we will stand with you." Similar messages came from a dozen species. The Council's empire was cracking. Yunji read these messages carefully. She convened a meeting with the other human leaders. It was held via hologram, as their ships were scattered across space. "We have an opportunity," said Daehyun, leader of the most aggressive human faction. His colony had specialized in warfare. They had turned the Hidden Fleet's technology into something terrifying. "The Council is weak. Other species will join us if we strike now." "Strike at what?" asked Wu Jin, one of the few humans who still believed reconciliation was possible. "The Council is billions of people. Many of them are not our enemies." "They stood by while we were exiled," Daehyun shot back. "They watched us be driven into the void. Where was their sympathy then?" "Some of them tried to help," Wu Jin insisted. "Not all Council species agreed with what was done to us." Yunji listened to them argue. She understood both perspectives. Part of her wanted revenge, wanted to make the Council pay for every year of exile, every human who died in the dark places, every colony lost to hostile environments. but another part remembered her grandmother's words. Jiwan had recorded a message before she died, meant for her descendants. We left because we refused to be ruled by fear and oppression. Do not become oppressors yourselves. Be better than they were. We will not conquer, Yunji decided, but we will not beg either. We will enter council space. We will reclaim the territories we explored 80 years ago, and we will offer an ultimatum. Negotiate with us as equals or face the consequences. What consequences? Daehyun asked. We have 47 colonies now. Each one adapted to environments the council cannot survive. We control trade routes through dangerous space. We have alliances with the ancients, and we have other species ready to rebel. Yunji's voice was hard. If the council refuses to negotiate, we will support those rebellions. We will cut off their access to the outer regions. We will make them realize that their empire depends on our cooperation now. Sujin, a historian who had been documenting humanity's transformation, spoke up. This is a dangerous path. If we do this, there may be war. Millions could die. Millions already died, Daehyun said coldly. They died in the scattering. They died building colonies in places that tried to kill them. They died because the council decided we did not deserve to live freely. And we survived, Yunji said. We survived and we became strong. Now we use that strength not for conquest but for justice. She sent the ultimatum. It was broadcast across council space, impossible to ignore. 80 years ago you tried to cage humanity. You drove us into the dark places. You thought you had destroyed us. You were wrong. We survived. We adapted. We thrived. Now we return, not as your subjects, but as a sovereign power. You will negotiate with us as equals. You will recognize our right to the territories we have claimed. You will accept that humanity answers to no one but ourselves. Or you will face the consequences. The message ended with coordinates. A meeting place in neutral space. 7 days from now, the council was in chaos. Some species demanded war. Others urged negotiation. The fractures that had been forming for years split open. 3 species announced they were leaving the council to pursue independence. 5 more threatened to do the same. Kelmora realized with horror that his empire was collapsing. Not because of military defeat, but because humanity had proven that resistance was possible, that survival outside council control was achievable. He sent his own message to Yunji. You are making a mistake. If you push us, we will have no choice but to respond with force. Billions will die. Yunji's response was simple. Then choose not to push. Choose to negotiate. Choose to let species be free. The choice is yours. In the end, Kelmora had no choice. The council fleet was strong, but spread across thousands of systems. The rebellions were spreading. An intelligence report showed that the human fleet had technology that matched or exceeded council capabilities. A war might be won, but the cost would destroy the empire regardless. Reluctantly, he agreed to the meeting. 7 days later, delegations met in neutral space. The council brought 20 species. Humanity brought representatives from every scattered colony. And to everyone's surprise, a dozen rebel species came too, standing beside the humans. The negotiations were tense. The council tried to dictate terms. Yunji refused them all. You do not understand, she said calmly. You are not in a position to dictate anymore. You can negotiate in good faith, or you can watch your empire fall apart. For the first time in galactic history, the council had to negotiate as equals with a species they had tried to suppress. It took 3 months. But finally, a treaty was signed. Humanity retained all territories they had claimed. They were recognized as a sovereign power. No species could be restricted from expansion without overwhelming evidence of danger to others. And a new body was formed, the Concordat, where all species had equal votes regardless of age or power. As Yunji signed the treaty, she thought of her grandmother. Jiwan had walked out of the council chamber 80 years ago, declaring humanity would never submit. Now Yunji walked back in, not as a supplicant, but as a conqueror who chose mercy. We remember what you did to us, she said to the assembled species. We will never forget, but we also remember who we wanted to be. We wanted to be free, to be respected, to be treated fairly. We will give you the same chance you denied us, not because you deserve it, but because we choose to be better than you were. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had returned. And the age of council dominance was over. 100 years after the scattering, the galaxy was unrecognizable. Hanel stood in the Concordat chamber, the building that had replaced the old council headquarters. She was Jiwan's great-granddaughter, fourth generation since the exile. She had never known the old days when humanity begged for acceptance. The chamber was different from the old council room. No species had elevated platforms. Everyone sat at the same level. Every voice carried equal weight. Today's debate was intense. A new threat had emerged from deep space, strange ships not matching any known species. They had attacked 3 frontier colonies, 2 human and 1 Trell. Hundreds were dead. We must respond with overwhelming force, demanded Representative Vic Show of Exthari. The species that had once ruled the council now advocated for aggression, having learned nothing from their fall. We must learn more before we attack, countered Hanul. We do not know what these beings want. We do not know if those attacks were intentional or accidents. They killed hundreds of people, Vic Show insisted. What more do we need to know? Hanul thought carefully before responding. This was the challenge of the Concordat, building consensus among dozens of species, each with different values and histories. It was slower than the old council's dictatorial approach, but it was more just. I know what it is like to be judged without understanding, Hanul said quietly. 100 years ago, the council decided humanity was too dangerous to be free. They did not understand us. They did not try. They just decided we were a threat and tried to cage us. The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew the history. It was taught in every school now, on every world. The scattering had become the defining moment of modern galactic history. Are we going to repeat that mistake? Hanul continued. Make assumptions about beings we do not understand and attack them? What do you propose? Asked Representative Seojin, a Vexthari who had actually integrated into human society. He was rare among his species, one who had learned humility. Send a diplomatic mission, Hanul said, but a strong one. Include military vessels. Show we can defend ourselves but offer communication first. Let them explain their actions before we choose war. The vote was close. But Hanul's proposal won. The diplomatic mission was organized. Nari, Admiral of the Unified Human Defense Fleet, would command the military escort. She had risen through the ranks of the Hidden Fleet, now transformed into humanity's main defensive force. 6 capital ships, Nari told Hanul, and 2 squadrons of fighters. Enough to defend the diplomats, but not enough to look like an invasion force. Who will lead the diplomatic team? Hanul asked. I was hoping you would. Hanul hesitated. She was comfortable in the Concordat chamber, negotiating with species she understood. Going into unknown space to face unknown beings was different, but this was what leadership meant. Making the difficult choices, I will do it, she said. The mission departed 3 days later. As they traveled toward the coordinates where the unknown ships had been spotted, Hanul reviewed everything known about the attacks. The pattern was strange. The attacks had been quick, surgical. Specific buildings destroyed, specific people killed. Not random violence. Not attempted conquest. Something else, Admiral. What do you make of this? Hanul asked Nari. The Admiral studied the data. If I did not know better, I would say these were precision strikes. Like they were targeting specific individuals or information. But why attack multiple species? What could humans and Trell have in common that someone would want to destroy? The answer came from an unexpected source. Jinwu, a philosopher who had come along to advise on ethics, made a connection. Both attacks hit research facilities, he said. Specifically, facilities studying ancient technology. Hanul felt a chill. You think the ancients are behind this? No. But maybe someone who does not want us learning ancient secrets. They reached the coordinates. Space was empty. Then their sensors picked up something. A ship unlike anything they had seen before. It was neither organic nor purely mechanical. It seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Hail them, Hanul ordered. The response came immediately, not in words but in images and emotions transmitted directly to their minds. The same way the ancients communicated. You trespass, you meddle, you take what is not yours. We are a diplomatic mission, Hanul projected back, hoping the beings would understand. We wish to understand why you attacked our people. More images. Ancient technology. Weapons that could tear apart stars. Knowledge that species were not ready for. And images of the beings themselves. They were not alive in any traditional sense. They were constructs left behind by the ancients. Guardians programmed to protect dangerous knowledge from immature species. You reach for power you cannot control. We prevent catastrophe. Hanul understood. These guardians had been left behind millions of years ago. They had watched species rise and fall. They had seen what happened when civilizations gained power too quickly. We understand your concern, she projected, but we are not children anymore. We have survived challenges you cannot imagine. We have earned the right to make our own choices. The Guardian construct seemed to consider this. Then it showed her something. Memories of species that had destroyed themselves with ancient technology. Worlds burned. Civilizations collapsed. Entire regions of space rendered uninhabitable. This is what happens when species are given power before wisdom. And this is what happens when wisdom is forced upon species before they are ready. Hanul replied. She showed the Guardian memories of the scattering. Humanity driven into the dark, suffering, dying, but surviving, growing stronger. 100 years ago, another power decided humanity was not ready for freedom. They tried to cage us. They nearly destroyed us. But we survived. And we learned that true wisdom comes from facing challenges, not being protected from them. She showed more memories. Humans adapting to radiation, modifying their biology, learning to survive in places that killed other species, building new societies, creating the Concordat. We have earned our wisdom through suffering, Hanul continued, through surviving what should have killed us. If you destroy every species that reaches for knowledge, you prevent them from growing. You keep them children forever. The Guardian was silent for a long time. Then it showed her something new, a test, a challenge deep in unexplored space, ancient technology that could help the galaxy, but protected by dangers that would kill the unprepared. Prove your species has truly learned wisdom. Retrieve this without bringing catastrophe. Then we will know you are ready. The Guardian vanished. Hanul immediately called a meeting of the diplomatic team. This is bigger than one mission, she said. This is about whether we have truly moved past the old ways. Whether we can be trusted with power. So we accept the challenge? Nari asked. We accept, but we do it carefully. We do not rush in. We plan, we prepare. We show that humanity has learned patience along with strength. Jinwoo raised a concern. What if we fail? What if this technology is truly beyond us? Then we prove the Guardians right, Hanul admitted. And we accept that we are not ready. That is wisdom too, knowing our limitations. The mission returned to Concordat space. Hanul presented the situation to the full assembly. The debate was fierce. Some species wanted to rush for the technology. Others wanted to ignore the challenge entirely. We should approach this as a joint effort, Hanul proposed. Multiple species working together. Humans, Trell, Vexthari, even our former enemies. If we can retrieve this technology without bringing disaster, we prove that the new Concordat works. That cooperation is stronger than domination. The proposal passed. Minji volunteered to lead the expedition. She was a scout, someone who had explored further than any human. She had found wonders and horrors in equal measure. She respected the dangers of the unknown. I will take a small team, Minji said. Scientists from multiple species. Military escorts for protection. But this is not a conquest. This is exploration. We go slow. We go careful. The expedition took 2 years to prepare. They studied everything known about ancient technology. They developed safeguards. They planned for every contingency they could imagine. When they finally departed, the entire galaxy watched. The challenge was in a region of space where dimensions blurred, where physics broke down, where matter and energy existed in states that should be impossible. It was beautiful and terrifying. Minji's team found the ancient facility. It was vast, containing technology that could revolutionize energy production, medicine, transportation. But it was also trapped, surrounded by guardians, protected by puzzles that required understanding not just science but philosophy. They worked for 6 months, scientists from different species collaborating, sharing insights, learning from each other. Slowly, carefully, they bypassed the guardians, solved the puzzles, retrieved the technology, and they did it without firing a shot, without causing destruction. Through patience, cooperation, and wisdom. When they returned, the galaxy celebrated. The Guardian constructs acknowledged that the test had been passed. They would allow access to more ancient sites, as long as species proved they could handle the responsibility. Hanul stood in the Concordat chamber, watching the celebration. Beside her, Seojin the Vexthari smiled. Your great-grandmother would be proud, he said. She started this. The refusal to submit. The choice to be free.